Jonathan Haidt had an interesting hypothesis on sort of how libertarians think. Here's a clip.
There is a big sex difference here. Men are generally higher on systemizing, women are generally higher on empathizing. And what we find is that libertarians are, in a sense, the most masculine out there. Libertarian men are the highest on systemizing of any of the three groups, and they are the lowest on empathizing. Same thing for women.
Okay, now, first off, let me just say I disagree with that as it applies to conservatism. I understand the idea that libertarianism is, people might be low on the empathy scale. I will tell you, I am a conservative, I'm a constitutionalist, I'm a federalist, because I am hyperly empathetic. I look at the people of Venezuela. You look at the people under Stalin's regime. You look at the people under Castro. Currently, when we're talking about Venezuela, take your pick, China. Yeah. I look at them and I say, it's never possibly worked. So you may see in the short term saying, well, you don't want to extend a hand? No, I see what handouts lead to. And because I don't want to see the destruction of not only society, but the human spirit, I'm a conservative. I think it's the most empathetic worldview you can possibly have.
Yeah, right, absolutely. So, okay, a couple things. First off, I really agree with Crowder when he says this. Although I do say I really like Jonathan Haidt just saying libertarians are like the most manly men around or something, because that has not been my experience dealing with libertarians. And I just appreciate that, someone's going like, yeah, we're the men here. All right. Anyway, but I got to say, I've talked about similar things on the show before, but I really agree with what Crowder's saying, like the spirit of what he's saying, that it's like, obviously, yes, I mean, it's a mix of both. Yes, part of the reason why we're libertarians is because we understand the system and how the system would work and how our system would work versus the current system would work. But I do agree that it's like, I think that I am, my belief in liberty is driven by empathy. That I think the main reason why I believe in freedom is because I just see how governments destroy innocent people's lives. And I certainly can understand how something like, let's just say the IRS can you can understand the systematized problem with the IRS, where you go wait a minute, but if you set up a fee for being productive, then that is discouraging people from producing more. You know what I mean? If there's a tax for working, then you'll get less people working than you otherwise would have working if you didn't have the tax and all this stuff. But the real thing that makes me good at this job of podcasting about liberty shit is because I'm deep inside me as a human being, I'm you ruin people's lives. The IRS goes after people for the crime of working, and will go back 15 years on them and wreck them and destroy their business because they misfiled a few papers. That's what drives me crazy. That's why I'm anti-war. That's why I'm anti-Fed. That's why I'm anti-war on drugs. That's why I'm anti all this stuff. I just hate that the government destroys innocent people's lives. So I really agree with the spirit of what he's saying there, that no, it's not. It's not a lack of empathy. And I think he is a little imprecise when he's saying oh, it's not that I'm against handouts, it's that I see what handouts lead to. But what the libertarians, the real strict hardcore libertarians like us, understand is that we're not even saying we're against handouts. Handouts are good sometimes. We've all probably given handouts to people sometimes. It's forced handouts with other people's money who you stole, through extortion. That's what is the problem. If you leave this to local levels, churches give out free beds to sleep on, but I don't think that anyone's going there's a real problem with these handouts. It doesn't lead to all the disasters he's talking about. The disasters come from an authoritarian regime who monopolizes handouts with other people's money. But the other thing that I happen to notice in there is that he's completely comfortable using these terms like constitutionalist or federalist or any of this stuff, or believing in federalism, rather, I should say. And they all have the same problems that he objected to with the term libertarian, that a lot of other people use this and don't mean at all what you mean. Look, if you believe in federalism and you're a constitutionalist, a real constitutionalist, by today's standards, you are a radical minarchist. You may not be an ANCAP, but you're a radical minarchist if you believe in the Constitution, which really to me is like, dude, you're a libertarian. If you're really a constitutionalist, then basically you would have to believe that 90% of the federal government should be eliminated, abolished. So like, what are we even talking about here? What are we even talking about? Are we down? Are we arguing over like the last little bits of whether we should have pure anarchy or some degree of loose, like a confederation of state governments under like a very weak federal government? Whatever. But I'm just saying that like I do very much agree with the central point that he's making there, that like the left almost tries to make this conversation out to be like you either have empathy and care about people or you believe in capitalism. But that's not accurate. That's not true at all. And I think in many ways, if you just look at it in your everyday life, like think about leftists that you know, do they really have more empathy, or do they just use the claim of having more empathy to really crush their opponents, which is not empathy?